All right, howdy everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. Hello, how's it going? Welcome back, and thank you very much for shooting in and joining a fella here for another one. Another live, as a matter of fact. New West Reset Live, episode 130 here today on this Sunday, July 27th, 2025. It's a wee bit past 5 p.m. local time, mountain time. On a sort of partly cloudy day, some rain showers, a little on the chilly side for this time of year, plus 16 Celsius. It's about, I don't know, 60, low 60s Fahrenheit for my American friends. We could use the rain, though. You know, the moisture is going to be coming in handy a month from now. It starts to get drier than a popcorn fart in the dog days of summer. Anyway, thanks for joining me. As always, we're live and we're coming at you from the foothills of the beautiful Canadian Rocky Mountains, southwestern Alberta, Purdy, Alberta, right here in Calgary. So thanks for winding down your weekend here with yours truly on this Sunday fun day. If you haven't already, give a fellow one of these. Really appreciate it. You know, it just kind of helps to push me out into the algorithm a little bit as we make our way to 2,000 subscribers. A bunch of new friends to the channel, so welcome. Thank you very much. Appreciate your support. Welcome to the shenanigans, as usual. Speaking of as usual, everything we're covering tonight in the box below in the description. We're looking at Montreal mansions. Mansions? Why did I stumble over mansions? Montreal mansions, Chateaux of the old world. Suggested topic by our friend Can a Dummy. That's I'm not calling him a dummy. That's the name of his channel, Can a Dummy. We're looking at the Golden Square Mile and Little Burgundy. Little Burgundy is sort of the nickname of a neighborhood in Montreal, and the Golden Square Mile, another sort of nickname. It's where the highfalutin rich people lived in Montreal. So again, links below for all of that. Speaking of links below, BitChute, MeWe, email, you know, all the ways you can get a hold of a fella down in the description below as well. Not to mention, of course, Rumble, because as always, we're broadcasting live simultaneously, YouTube and Rumble. So welcome, friends. Appreciate it. So yeah, if you want to shoot a guy a line, an email, a comment, you got some photos or video you want to share, email, MeWe, all of that's down there. Also, my location map, courtesy of Cousin Vinny. You click on that and it takes you to a map of everywhere a fella's done some boots on the ground here in Alberta land. And of course, if you'd like to make a donation to the channel, it's certainly not, let's just say it's not necessary, but greatly appreciated. I'll send you a t-shirt. A bunch of t-shirts went out recently. And more are going out in the next day or two. Dragon Sage, Vaughn. So yeah, appreciate that. You know, it's people helping people, huh? People helping people. What can I say? So thanks for joining me here for the live show, as mentioned. Old-timey, old world Chateaux in Montreal. If you're watching this after the live, after the fact, thank you very much. Really appreciate you as well. And don't forget to do all the things down here, everyone. Let's say howdy to everybody in the chat, in the box. See how everybody's doing. Realm Dweller over on Rumble. Those backwoods masonry workers sure could build back in the day. Yeah, these were the fine country homes and country estates of the upper crust of old-timey Montreal, old New France, you see. So yeah, they were kind of backwoods, but apparently they had that old world craftsmanship. Good to see you. Thanks for shooting in. Brian's here as well. Brian Metz in the box. Howdy. Here's Wiley. Howdy, neighbor. Wiley Metz. Good to see you. Hippie Shake. Hiya, Hippie. How you doing? Kathy Broughton is here. Greetings, Kathy. Howdy. Kathy down in the Bluegrass State. How you doing? Title's here. Hey, guy who just got splashed by a car going by in the puddle on the road there. Yeah, it's Title. That's right. Good to see you, Title. Hello. Channel 53. Channel 53 in the box. Baha is here. Hello. Thank you very much for joining me. Really appreciate it. My favorite day of the week, spending a little time with my favorite folks. Thank you very much. Howdy, Carmichael. Oh, she's going pretty good there, eh, bud? She's going pretty good. Thank you for being here. Kush, how are you doing, sir? Hello. Martin's here as well from over on Rumble. Thank you very much for being here, Martin. Appreciate it. Thanks to everybody for all your support, all the comments and likes and shares and all of that. Really, it's really great. Really appreciate you. Really helps out. Pastor of Castles is here. Hello. Howdy. And welcome once again. New friends, new faces, new names poking around the channel here. So appreciate you. Thank you very much for subscribing and being here. So as mentioned, episode 130, Chateaux of the Old World, Montreal Mansions, and links below. This was suggested by Can a Dummy, friend of the channel here. And we're going to check out first, of course, just the official narrative from how they became known as the Golden Square Mile and Little Burgundy. And we're just going to consult what all the normies usually go for, is the Wikipedia. Although these days, a lot of people just go the first thing they read with the Google AI that pops up when you type in your search engine, if you use the goggle machine, that is. But that being said, most folks, this is what they go with. They read this and they go, yeah, sure, okay. Makes sense. Why not? So this is why I like to use Wikipedia, poke some holes in the narrative a little bit. You see what I'm saying? Golden Square Mile. The Golden Square Mile, or in French, Mille Carrés Dorés, also known as the Square Mile, is the nostalgic name given to an urban neighborhood developed principally between 1850 and 1930 at the foot of Mount Royal neighborhood in the west central section of downtown Montreal, Quebec, up in Canada land. Now, there were some places built prior to 1850, in some cases up to 100 years prior to, so they say, and a handful of places after the Great Depression, the Dirty 30s, but pre-WW2, but not very many. This was kind of the height of their powers there in the Golden Square Mile for all the highfalutin estate homes and mansions. So the name Square Mile has been used to refer to the area since 1930s. Prior to that, the neighborhood was known as Newtown or Uptown. The addition of Golden was coined by Montreal journalist Charlie Lazarus, and the name has connections to contemporary real estate developments as the historical delimitations of the Golden Square Mile overlap with Montreal's contemporary central business district. Yeah, as a part of what is classified as commercial or business developments are also within the Golden square mile. It's not just residential castles. Although it used to be primarily. From the 1790s, the business leaders of Montreal looked beyond old Montreal for their spacious sites upon which to build their country homes. There it is. Yep, them simple backwoods country hicks. They developed the farmland on the slopes of Mount Royal north of Sherbrook Street, creating a neighborhood famous for its grandeur and architectural audacity. Oh, the audacity! At the square mile's peak, 1850 to 1930, its residences included the owners and operators of the majority of Canadian rail, shipping, timber, mining, fur, and banking industries. Really, you don't say. All them rich folks, eh? From about 1870 to 1900, 70% of all wealth in Canada was held by this small group of approximately 50 fellas. 50 dudes. French businessmen working in old Montreal where their businesses were, and then developing the lower slopes of Mount Royal for their grand country estates. By the 1930s, multiple factors led to the neighborhood's decline, including, of course, their Dust Bowl, the Great Depression, y'all. The dawn of the automobile. I'm not sure why. What do they show here? A Toyota, by the way. When you hover on Wikipedia, when you hover over automobile, you get a early, mid 20 teens Toyota. What is that? A Corolla? That piece of junk. Anyway, this cracks me up. I'm not sure why the automobile would make the land fall into decline like these country estates. It would just make it easier for these highfalutin folks to get out there instead of horse and wagon or horse and buggy. Not wagon, horse and buggy. They could just hop in the old jalopy and have Belvedere, their manservant, drive them to the country estate. Oh, Belvedere, get the automobile ready. I'm doing the wrong accent. Should be an old French Canadian guy. Hey, Jean-Jacques, prépare l'automobile. Anyways, the demand for more heat-efficient houses. So they built these big, massive country estates, big mansions, all the money in the world to throw around. The top 70% of the wealth in all of Canada. But they had insufficient heating, apparently. And then, of course, they always blame it on the younger generations of families that just moved away and built their homes in Westmount, which is also kind of highfalutin, but not quite as highfalutin. During the Quiet Revolution, that was sort of a socialist movement in the 60s, some businesses created in Montreal on whose fortunes the square mile had been built moved to Toronto. So we're out of here. Guys are raising all the taxes in around here to support this new social services and welfare state here in the Montreal. The hell with you. We're out of here. We're going to the T.O. Toronto, Ontario. In this period, the square mile evolved to gradually become the central business district, and many of its grand houses were, of course, you guessed it, demolished. Just absolutely demolished.
Shenanigans.
The face of the square mile was altered, leading to the formation of Heritage Montreal to preserve historic architecture in the city. Yeah, it only takes a bunch of demolitions before finally somebody says, hey, don't demolish that. But by then, it's way too late. Way too late. Listen to this. Now, I hope you're sitting down. I hope you're sitting down. Brace yourself now, people. By 1983, only 30% of the mansions, in the northern half of the square mile had survived demolition, and only 5% survived south of Sherbrook Street. Yeah, Sherbrook Street's a big commercial area now. Big high rises and whatnot. Many of the remaining mansions, such as the James Ross House, today known as Chancellor Day Hall, are today owned by McGill University. Nevertheless, the mansions of the Golden Square Mile represent a prosperous period during which Montreal was the cultural and financial capital of Canada land. Ain't that always the case? Here they just give you a quick little synopsis of the streets that border around and make up the Golden Square Mile architecture. Here we go. The architects of the Square Mile included Robert Finlay. He was a Scottish-born Canadian architect. All right. Bruce Price, an American architect and an innovator of the shingle style. The stark geometry and compact massing of his cottages in Tuxedo Park, New York, influenced modernists architects, including Frank Lloyd Wright, garbage, and Robert Venturi. Finlay, who did he? He was born in Inverness, Scotland. Oh, aye, Inverness, Scotland. That's great. It's absolutely great. To Montreal, 1885. He won the competition to expand the first Sun Life building and was the architect for that project, which began in 1890. Oh, he won a competition. You don't say. Never heard that before. Sir Andrew Taylor. Oh, I say, Sir Andrew Taylor, if you please. Don't forget the sir. He was a British architect and councillor. He was born in Edinburgh, Scotland, and practiced architecture in Scotland and London before immigrating to Montreal in 1883. We designed many of the buildings of McGill University. Many of the buildings that that same university that owns a bunch of these buildings that they haven't torn down yet. It's a strange coincidence. Anyways, so that's Sir Andrew Taylor, eh? And William Thomas. He was a Canadian architect. And that's all I got for him. Great, thanks for all that. So the architecture is an eclectic mix of the neoclassical, neo-Gothic, Romanesque, Second Empire, Queen Anne, and Art Nouveau, though other styles figure prominently, sometimes within the same home. Sure, just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks on these structures, I guess. Could that be because some of them were built much more early than you're telling us they were? And that's why they resemble, anyway, these styles. By WW1, simpler houses were built, such as Herbert Molson's Maison Cormier. And they just show you a picture of, what's that, his foyer, his front entrance lobby. Scottish sandstone and local granite were commonly used materials. Why would you bring sandstone all the way from Scotland? There's sandstone all over the place in Canada land. Well, I guess pre-railroad, it's kind of hard to get sandstone from the prairies, I reckon. But we've heard crazier stories than that. So I don't know. DN is here. Howdy, DN. Good to see you there, bud. Most homes had substantial grounds, atria, and large conservatories. You don't say. Look at that. One or the other, or both in some cases. A great many of the square milers were keen horticulturalists, and aside from their gardens, they enjoyed keeping hothouse flowers through the long winters. The streets of the square mile were lined with elm, spruce, and maple trees. But an outbreak of Dutch elm disease in the 70s destroyed those that had once lined. Oh, of course. If it ain't one thing, it's another. Then they get into the whole mercantile class that sprung up throughout the official timeline. You know, you have the usual suspects of the Northwest and Hudson's Bay fur trading companies, the East India Company. Then, you get all the railroads coming in and expanding stuff. You get a couple of fires. Of course, you got to have a couple of fires. Let's see here. John Duncan observed in 1818 that a number of very splendid mansions have lately been erected on the slope of the mountain, which would be regarded as magnificent residences even by the wealthy merchants of the mother country, meaning France at the time. In 1820, John Bigsby described the view from Chateau Saint Antoine, then said to be the most magnificent building in the whole city, standing within 200 acres of parkland, roughly at the end of Dorchester Street. 200 acres. Water the tree in the box. Howdy. Good to see you. Pastor of Castle says Dutch Elm Disease was probably a psyop. Or just, why are you cutting down these big old ancient trees that the circumference of which you can't join hands with 5-6 other people to get your arms around? Well, some reason why we cut down to even more giant trees 150, 200 years ago. Yeah, same reason. We don't want giant anything, the proof of giant anything, to still be kicking around. So, we're going to come up with some excuse to cut down the trees. Oh, the giant root system is damaging the foundation of that historic building. So we got to cut the tree down and blah, blah, blah. Or, that it's this and that over there. So we got to or Dutch Elm Disease or pine beetle infestation. And then we're all supposed to go, oh, yeah, you just hand wave away with these excuses. Sure. Okay. I'll go along with that there, bud. But John Bigsby described the view from Chateau Saint Antoine to be most magnificent. Dorchester Street. Yeah, okay. I had the pleasure of dining with William McGilvery at his seat on a high terrace under the mountain, looking southward and laid out in pleasure grounds in the English style. The view from the drawing room windows of this large and beautiful mansion is extremely fine. Too rich and fair, I foolishly thought, to be out of my native England. Oh, I misspoke when I said New France earlier. It's England already at this point. They went back and forth a couple of times. Anyway, close beneath you are scattered elegant country retreats, embowered with plantations, succeeded by a crowd of orchards of delicious apples, spreading far to the right and left, and hedging in the glittering churches, hotels, and house roofs of Montreal. The early residents of Square Mile enjoyed marked benefits from being the first to settle there. The houses were surrounded by acres of parkland with long carriage drives, vineries, orchards, fruit and vegetable gardens. The surveyor Joseph Bouchette noted that the produce from these gardens in the summer months was excellent in quality, affording a profuse supply, inasmuch or even greater perfection than in many southern climates. In 1822, Sir Richard Phillips commented that a number of handsome villas now make their appearance around the town, and there are numerous sites still unoccupied. Not there are numerous plots of land yet to be developed. No, there's sites that are unoccupied. Funny choice of words, isn't it? Maybe it's just me. Moving on. Which will probably be hereafter crowned with elegant seats. Few places in the world possess more capabilities of this kind than Quebec and Montreal. If the latter is less bold than the former, its scenery, it possesses much richness and delicate beauty, which needs nothing but wealth and taste to display them to advantage. The former already exists in Montreal to a great extent, and there are also very respectable proofs of the existence and growth of the latter. Well, people just don't speak or read or write like that anymore. Land sakes. Anyways, and then it goes on to give us a list of some of the more notable and important structures during the various booms and development stages, but I thought we'd quickly look through. Yeah, you got that right. And that's how they can get away with a lot of this. That, that was built in the 1800s and we tore it down in 1903 or 1937 or whatever. They can get away with explaining a little bit of an elongated timeline because Montreal is so much older in the official his story. 70, something like that, 1640. I can't remember. Going way back anyway. Montreal and Quebec City, right? Both were former star cities, by the way. But that's fine. It is what it is. PCS World in the box says hi, everybody. Howdy, PCS World. Good to see you. Hello, hello. Roth Rods LLC is here as well. How's she going there, bud? Anyway, so yeah, you get all your timeline and so on and so on. But let's have a look at the some of the photographs here. Here's the famous Ravens Crag, built for Sir Hugh Allen in 1863. Look at that beaut. Will you look at that beaut? My goodness. Can a Dummy. There we go. Can a Dummy is here. Just talking about you. Thank you very much for suggesting a little while back and then giving me the reminder of Little Burgundy in Montreal. So we're looking at, well, right now, we're looking at the Golden Square Mile, and then we're going to have a look at Little Burgundy. So good to see you. This place, Duncan McIntyres Craigie, built on 10 acres off McGregor Street, 1880. Demolished in 1930. Yeah, 50 years. Yeah, she stood long enough. It's got to go. Give me a break. And they say it was built in 1880. Really? Is that right, eh? I don't know. If you told me that was built in 1780 and this was in the UK somewhere or in France, I'd be like, yeah, sure. Or even 1680. But no, 1880 and, in Montreal, Canada land. And then after 50 years, bye. Here's the Herbert Molson House, 1912. Beautiful coining, nice mansard style roof. We see that a lot with these dormers here. This one's got a pediment, and these have the semicircular pediments. Very nice. Yeah, actually, Molson also had another big, fancy mansion. He had a couple, actually. Yeah, the beer guy. Absolutely. That's right, Kathy. Kathy Broaden. Is that the beer guy? You betcha, bud. Surrender of Montreal to the British in 1760. Ah, okay. There you go. This is a schematic or a drawing built in, or it's Burnett in 1835, the Montreal townhouse of David Ross on the Champ de Mars, circa 1812. Why does it say 1835 here then? I guess it's just a sketch of the pre-existing home. I mean, it's not a blueprint. It looks like pen and ink or watercolor or something. Donaganas Hotel on Notre Dame Street, built in 1821 as a home for William and Charlotte de Lotbiniere Bingham. As a hotel, it was the largest in the British colonies until it burned in the riots of 1849. Wait. Hang on. Donaganas Hotel on Notre Dame Street, built in 1821 as a home for William and Charlotte Bingham. This was their home? And then as a hotel, I'm assuming later, it was the largest in the British colony. That means it would have been it was a massive home. Wouldn't it have been one of the largest private homes in the British colonies too? That can't be right, can it? Oh, it's fine. Just come on in. Oh, it's just my house. Yeah, come on in for a cup of tea or whatever. It's all fine.
I don't believe you.
I mean, again, it's not a photograph, it's a etching, but whatever. That's the official story, is it was built in 1821 as a home with, 6 pillars or columns in the front, big pediment. This looks like a bank. They're calling it a hotel, but it could have been called a bank, a library, some kind of government building. You get my drift, right? Realm Dweller over on Rumble. Hotel, home, same thing. Yeah. Exactly. This building still stands. This is a lovely painting, by the way. The Bank of Montreal, Place des Armes, as my mother used to mispronounce it. Founded in 1817 by 1 French and 7 British merchants. It served as the National Bank of Canada Land until 1934. So 8 dudes founded this, and that's the building that they needed for their bank that they just founded. Was something with 6 pillars or columns in the front, big pediment, big dome, all kinds of fancy schmancy windows and effects, and it's huge. You can see here the horse and sleigh, because of course it's Canada Land, so winter. Crazy. But yeah, it's still there. You can look at it on the Goggle machine, on the Goggle Maps. Oh, of course, there's a painting of the fire in Old Montreal, Hayes House burning on Dalhousie Square, 1852. Up until then, a favorite meeting place of the early square milers. You see, so the highfalutin fat cat businessmen used to like to meet in this place. And then it mysteriously caught fire and burned down in 1852. I wonder if they built another one. I don't know. We'll get to it, I guess. Montreal in 1832, showing the farmland on which the square mile was later built. Looks like there's already a big, massive mansion or chateau or estate home right here. They already said they had long drives off of the main streets. So who's to say there isn't another one right here and right behind the artist, one over here. Kind of like those old postcards you see where they take a picture of an old world building, but there's a bunch of trees in front of it. So you get trees in the foreground of the photo that's supposed to be of the beautiful old historic building in your postcard, and you're like, what the? That same kind of thing. At least that's or you just omit. This could have been peppered with all kinds of mansions, and the painter was just commissioned not to paint them in. I don't know, I'm just speculating. There's a crappy drawing of the old Beaver Lodge, the Beaver Hall, built in 1792 for Joseph Frobisher, and destroyed by fire in 1847. Simon McTavish's house, Mount Royal, built in 1880. It's just a watercolor. Looks strange. Looks almost like it's got a couple of grain silos or a couple of domes. Very odd construction. Piedmont, the rear view, off Pine Avenue and Durocher Street, built 1820 and associated with the Frothingham family. Well, la-dee-da. Battlestar Utarian is in the box. Hello. Says, greetings, everyone. Just popping in to catch some of the best Sunday show and our gracious host, Frankie. Oh, well, thank you. I'm working slinging booze to the Denver burbs with a thank you and a smile. Well, thanks for shooting in. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Watch that slinging. Don't get any booze in your eyeball. Manoir or manor, souvenir or souvenir. It doesn't mean the same thing in French and in English. Like say souvenir is sort of like traveler's manor. that kind of a thing. Again, it's just a pencil drawing. Not sure why, because it was apparently etched or whatever in 1875. It had cameras by then, by about 30 years or more already. In fact, when they say it was being built in 1830, depending on how long they tell us it took to build the thing, they could have taken some photos of the building process. But now, what's this, by the way, over here? I wonder. Off to the left-hand side of the photograph. New Yim is here. Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you. Yeah, that's right. Channel 53. His 3 chimneys is legit. And then, yeah, 4 actually, because, yeah, there's a little one peeking here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's fine. But I thought they said that they had heating problems. That's why a lot of these things fell out of favor. Oh, ambulance going by. Can't have a live show without sirens. It's just nice enough to have the window open, eh? So you can hear the ambulance going by. The Terrace Bank on Sherbrook Street, built in 1837 for John Redpath. Wow. That is something. That is something else, I tell you what. Incredible. Look at this. Is this necessary? It's just my country home, by the way. Like during the week, the business that I own, is in Montreal, in Old Montreal. So I have a place that I stay close to my business in Old Montreal. But on weekends or during a vacation, this is where I retire and relax. This is just my country home. Give me a break. Kathy Braun says, I'll take that mansion. Yeah, I agree, Hippie. Hippie Shakes is beautiful. Yeah. Phil Henry, Giant's Cottage. And to that point, Baja says, look how small the horse is for scale. Yeah. Yeah, there's the horse and the buggy. One of those 2-wheel hansom cab jobbies. So you can see how massive this place is. 3 floors plus another one up here, plus another. So 4, 3, 4, plus obviously a lower deck here for some reason. I don't know. Incredible. William Workmans House on Sherbrook Street, built in 1842. Demolished, well, at least it got past a century. Demolished in 1952. Look at all the tech on the roof of this thing. Roof? Here too. Exquisite. Kildon Hall. Sorry. Kildon. Got to say it with an Irish accent. That was more Scottish. Irish. Right. Irish accent. It's terrible. Sound like the Lucky Charms leprechaun guy. It's terrible. Anyway. Kildon Hall is typical in style of the houses that once lined West Sherbrook Street in the 1840s. Oh yeah, just real typical. It's fine. It's just, just your standard run-of-the-mill old world mansion. Yeah, typical. All kinds of different shaped pediments over each window. We'll put some triangular pediments on these ones. This one is a semicircular one. These ones will be sort of like a mantle style. And we'll put all kinds of fancy details all around it, even around the veranda and the coach house entrance or whatever. Give me a break, man. It's lovely. Rosemont House. The rear view. Well, it's just the back of the house. McGregor Street, built in 1848 for Sir John Rose. 1, 2, 3 dormers. Another dormer here. Oh, there's the oldie ladder lean. So you know it's legit old world. Got ivy coming out the wazoo on this thing too. Wow. The homestead on Dorchester Street, built in 1858 for Harrison Stevens. Oh, yeah, it's just my homestead. Just a homestead with my bijou balcony with some pillars to hold it up. The coining detail and all the dental molding or dog's tooth along the eave there. It's fine. I have these big, huge, tall windows, but then these upper transom windows because we've got, 15-foot ceilings in here. Exquisite, man. Exquisite. Look at this nonsense again. Ravens Crag. Built in 1863 for Sir Hugh Allen. And I say it's lovely. A scene from the west. You got this 2-level driveway for your horse and carriage. Look at, he's got one of those big conservatoriums or whatever they were called. What can I say? No. Incredible, though. Like, that's definitely a castle. That's a chateau. That's not a house. Channel 53 says, grow operation. Yeah, don't we all? Hippie Shake in the boxes. I'd love any of these mansions. I need more room. Here's just a quick shot of this is just the drawing room at Ravens Crag. Look at the ceiling in here. I mean, you got 2 chandeliers in this room. Got some kind of weirdo tech on these chaise lounges with the mirrors behind them. Get the old-timey fireplace, but there's no wood in it or nothing because it's got a big mirror in front of it. Look at this. Come on, man. This is their country home, and this is just the drawing room. This isn't their formal dining room or their music room. I mean, you might sit here and have tea and maybe have some guests over. Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Yeah, that's right. We're a realm dweller. It's a modest shack. Incredible. Lady Galt House on Simpson Street, built by Sir Alexander Tilloch Galt. It's pretty low windows down here. And then this, again, this sort of carriageway, paved, of course, with brick that comes up a higher level than the street. Again, all these fancy dormers and the coining and just beautiful. And not to mention, again, these are all on big, huge estates, big pieces of land. Some of them have more than one structure on them. They'll have the main house, and then they'll have a servant's quarters or a carriage house around the back. That's a separate building. A lot of them have these big fancy drives with the brick or the paving stones, and they're all landscaped. It's ridiculous. Here's Sir George Drummond's house, built in the 1880s on Sherbrook Street at the corner of Metcalf Street. It was torn down in 1930. So another just 50 years-ish, and then it's got to go. But why'd they tear it down? Well, because you got to have a car wash there. That's why. You need to have a car wash. So that ties in the narrative of the onset of the automobile brought on the demise of these glorious old chateaux. Well, because, yeah, you got more cars. You need more service stations, filling stations, and car washes. So let's knock this down and put in a fucking car wash. Pardon my French. I don't often curse and swear, but that burns my biscuits, bub. Lord Shaughnessy's house, reduced in size, but saved from demolition in 1973. It's now the Canadian Centre for Architecture, McGill University. It's still huge. Thank you for saving part of it anyways. Yes, I agree, Kathy. Kathy Broughton in the box says tearing down a house like that for a car wash. is criminal. I agree 100%. Lord Mount Stephen's home on Drummond Street, built in 1880 and afterwards inherited by his niece, Elise Megan. It was saved from demolition when it was purchased by 3 Anglophone businessmen. That's English, by the way, as opposed to French that are Francophone. 3 Anglophone businessmen who created the Mount Stephen Club in 1928. So 3 dudes just got together. 3 English-speaking Montreal businessmen got together, just bought this building that was set for demolition, and they put a club in there, based probably, old-timey gentleman's club, He-Man Woman Haters Club type place. James Ross with his family outside their Peele Street home, built in 1892. Wow. We get an eye full of this baby. Again, a bunch of pillars or columns back here holding up this big, huge, curved balcony. Like, that's easy to do. Just all the time in the world, I guess, in the 1880s and 1890s. Just after the big stock market crash in the United States that would have heavily affected Montreal. Montreal's a big trade center, big business hub, and Montreal's right there on the American border, like roughly an hour. Look at this thing, conical domes, and then they have a dormer coming out of the conical dome that has either a porthole or it's an arched window in it. And then all of these complicated angles, not to mention the Antiquitech and all of this stacked brick or stonework. Come on, man. An attached carriage house that looks like it's going down a little bit, sloping downward. And again, that paved carriage drive here. Exquisite. And just all these carvings or reliefs all along the top here, too. It's hard to see, but you get the idea. This looks a lot like the Lougheed House here in Calgary, not far from my place. I've looked at that on the channel here a couple of times. Exquisite. But yeah, it's just my house. It's fine. Nothing fancy. These are the grounds of that Ross house. But in 1953, the city of Montreal decided to take this entrance to his private drive and continue the street right through these gardens. Or maybe the street goes this way. Either way, the street goes right through the gardens. Thanks, a-holes. Thanks a lot. The Mount Royal Club on Sherbrook Street, founded in 1899 after the leaders of the Square Mile felt that the St. James Club had become too overcrowded. Oh, yes. Of course. Not highfalutin enough. The crowd that's coming is unseemly. It's time to build our own special private club. Lord Atholston's house? Yeah, Lord Atholston's house on Sherbrook Street. This is this dude's house. This is his house. Now, it's out of context now because you got modern buildings and skyscrapers, 10 and 20 floor buildings all around it. But this used to be a country estate. There used to be nothing around here but beautifully landscaped gardens, a big long drive, probably one of those curved brick or stone driveways. Look at this ridiculousness up here. But now it's just surrounded by all this rectangular crap. Beautiful, though, man. Beautiful. Couple of portals. Sure, you need those in your house. Again, pediments all over the place. Sure. Columns and pillars. Yep. Check. Check. Big reliefs and all kinds of fancy embellishments. You got her, bud. Holy moly, man. Charles Hosmer's house on Drummond Street, 1901. This, again. Exquisite. And some of these aren't huge by any stretch, like maybe 3,000 square feet. I mean, that's big. But then others are just behemoths, you know what I'm saying? Like this. Garden party at Megan's house, 1908. Oh, lovely. All the ladies with dead birds and flowers in their hats, and all the men with their coats and tails. Looks like not a bad time, though. Where's the bandstand, though? Where's the music? You got tea and snacks, but where's the music? Gotta have some music. J.K.L. Ross House, Peele Street. Looks like a bank, for crying out loud. Looks like this thing could get taken a direct hit from a bomb. It almost looks like it has. What's going on up here, by the way? Looks like a bit of scorching or something going on up here, maybe. Maybe it's me. Sir Rodolphe Forget, or Forget's house. Forget. On du Musée Avenue. Museum Street. Or Museum Avenue. Built 1912 again. Looks like it could take a direct hit from a big boom boom. Because you got to have 4 bijou balconies. Oh, and yeah, bet money there's a couple on this side, and probably 4 more on the back side. Looks like it could be a Carnegie Library or something, you know what I mean? Or a normal school. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Howdy, Morgan. Morgan's here. Howdy, howdy. J.W. McConnell House, 1913. Avenue des Pins, Pine Avenue. Got some lower levels here for your vehicles. This could have been added later, possibly. I'd be willing to buy that. This whole section here looks like it might be an addition. But either way, you know, pillars and columns and balconies and pediments and all kinds of stuff, man. Maison, or house of, well, fancy house, but maison is French for house. House of Joseph Alderic Raymond on Dr. Penfield. That's the name of the street, avenue, sorry. Brother of Senator Raymond, builder of Montreal Forum for the NHL. Oh. Family had some money, you might say. Charlotte R. Harrison's house, Pill Street. Husband was a banker for Charles Meredith. Okay. Whew. Exquisite, man. Stone, brick, and copper galore. What's going on down here? It's weird looking. St. Mortimer Davis's house. Oh, sorry, excuse me, Sir Mortimer. Sir Mortimer Davis. Pine Avenue, built 1907. Oh, they're designed by that Finley guy. There you go. Again, that circular drive. Holy, Sir Vincent and Lady Meredith converted their home, the Ardvan, into a rehabilitation center for Canadian soldiers returning from the front of WW1. Again, yeah, it's just my house. You want to come over? We'll play some cards. The tech and the domage and dormers. Come on, man. Look at this fancy brickwork here. This is brick. We've done this with brick. Take off. Take off. All the time in the world. I mean, you can explain away with the money, but it's the time and the man hours. Canadian winters, too. You can only really build from like April or May until October, maybe November, until you got your project all closed in and a roof on the place. Roof. Then you can get some heat going in there, and then you can do some interior work, and then you can go, throughout the year. There's a Molson, the beer guy. He was also a bank guy. There's the Molson Bank right here, 1872. He also he did the Anheuser-Busch thing, or Adolphus Busch thing, whoever it was. I think it was Anheuser-Busch that did the the vertical integration of all his businesses. He's like, why rely on another railroad when I can just own my own railroad to ship my beer? Kind of Molson did the same thing. And he had a bank too. St. James Street, the financial center of Montreal, at its peak in 1895. Look at this place. Will you look at this shenanigans and ridiculousness all over this thing? I mean, it's...
Show me all the blueprints.
What a beaut. Looks like a bloody wedding cake. I agree, Kathy. Kathy Broughton says, unbelievable. Built in 1931, the Sun Life Building on Dorchester Square was in its time the largest edifice in the British Empire. So again, what they're trying to tell us with that? Well, it just helps to reinforce and push that narrative that they had tons of money floating around in old New France. And later on, when the British took over, just money everywhere from, them beaver pelts and whatnot. Marjorie Clouston on Sherbrook Street with Drummond Street leading on the Montreal behind her. Okay. Look at all the houses. Look at the snow. That's why you don't build windows this low. Because the snow falls and you got to move it off to the side so people can walk. And it goes a third of the way up your bloody low window. These low windows here across the street, same thing you can see. And this is Drummond Street today in 2009. Absolute shithole. Except for a few survivors like this beautiful old Royal Victoria Hospital. In this building that was purposely, here, I'll read it to you. The Sokozhevsky family bought Francis Redpath House. It was that red bricker with all the conical domes all over the place. In 1986 with the intention to demolish it. You fiendish bastards. And despite signing an agreement to maintain it, they allowed the house to fall into disrepair over the course of 28 years, and then it was demolished in 2014. Pricks. Anyway, there's your golden square mile, according to the Wikipedia, and we took a look at some exquisite photographs. Let's real quick, fast and in a hurry here, before we take a mid-show break, and have a look at Little Burgundy. And again, thanks to Canada Dummy for suggesting this and reminding a fella about this. Again, going with the Wikipedia, and to again as a reminder, this is what most normies are going to use as their point of reference. So that's why that's why I use it, because this is what most people are just going along with the narrative. So Little Burgundy, French Petit Bourgogne, is a neighborhood in the southwest borough of the city of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Its approximate boundaries are Atwater Avenue. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay, origin. There are differing accounts of the origin of the name Little Burgundy, or Petit Bourgogne. A surveyor's map of 1855 identifies a property called Bourgogne, owned by the heirs of the Honorable Louis Guy, brother of Etienne Guy, for whom Guy Street was named. Well, then that's probably it, dum-dums. The property corresponds to the areas bounded today by Seigneur Street, Notre Dame Street, St. Martin Street, and St. Antoine Street. Official use of the name Petit Bourgogne originates from 1965. So that's when people started officially. Well, officially it was used in terms of like, if you look it up, it's going to pop up. It's going to be on maps. You ask somebody from another borough in Montreal, hey, where's Little Burgundy? Chances are they'll know where you're talking about at this point. but originates from the 1965 preliminary study for the Urban Renewal Program to refer to the area between Lachine Canal and the Sea and Railway right-of-way, now expanded to Autoroute Ville-Marie. Atwater Street, Guy Street, 1965 preliminary study for the Urban Renewal Program. Oh, no. Urban Renewal Program. We all know what that means. Tear down the old worlders and build some ugly modern structures, or just brutalize the existing structures so they're completely unrecognizable. Anyways, the report takes inspiration from the writing of E.Z. Massicotte, archivist of the city of Montreal and resident of Saint Cunégonde. Cunégonde? I don't even know what that is, man. Who described the area as a meadow known as Le Petit Bourgnon. The authors of the Urban Renewal Study kept this name full as it is of poetry and nostalgia for another landscape. And this name is retained as the name of the neighborhood after the renewal program ended. In the early 80s, the city of Montreal renamed Little Burgundy to Quartier Georges Vanier, so George Vanier Quarter, after the Governor General Georges Vanier. Look at that medals on this guy, huh? In an attempt to remove the stigma of the low-income area, which public officials believed was deterring investment from private developers. During the public consultations for the City of Montreal's master plan, that's an unfortunate name, in 1990, residents requested that the name Petit Bourgnon or Little Burgundy be reinstated. Yeah, residents can request all they want till they're blue in the face. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Corey Ash is here. Howdy, Corey. Good to see you there, bud. How's you going there, eh? I'm just checking out Little Burgundy in Old Montreal. We just checked out the Golden Square Mile, all the mansions and old world beautiful buildings there. And now we're checking out the same in Little Burgundy. So the pre-industrial history, essentially agricultural until 1810, today's Little Burgundy began to be built up. The ward of St. Joseph, a faubourg spreading outside the city walls. The area around Richmond Square was built in 1819. Early industrial period development accelerated in the mid-19th century with the construction of the Lachine Canal. Attracted many so-called smokestack industries, most notably the Grand Trunk Railway Yards, one of the early railroad companies, and the Steel Company of Canada, or Stilco, among others. A residential section was built north of the factories between 1857 and 1964, originally part of the parish of Saint-Henri des Tanneries. It was set up as the village of Delis in 1864, then Saint Cunégonde in 1876. This place changed names more than it changed underwear. No wonder it's so confusing. Becoming a town in 1884, the name derived from Saint Cunégonde of Luxembourg, wife of Saint Henry II, Holy Roman Emperor, in a reference to the neighboring parish. Yeah, okay, great. Industry developed along the Lachine Canal, attracted by many prestigious businesses to set up in the ward St. Joseph along Rue Notre Dame, resulting in the construction of many handsome buildings, which are the mainstay of today's antiques district. Yeah, if your town or city still has a nice cluster or a couple of main streets or high streets of old world buildings, chances are it's the touristy, antique-y, hipster doofus part of your city or town. So it was absorbed into the city of Montreal in 1906. The former town hall is now a public library and community center located on Vinet Street. St. Cunégonde was bounded by the Lachine Canal, Atwater Avenue. Yeah, we got all that already. The Grand Trunk Railway ran directly through the area, terminating at St. Bonaventure Station. So, again, with all these businesses, especially in the industrial period, it makes sense that the railroad would run through there. Deindustrialization and urban renewal, already hurt by the Great Depression before the war. Oh, there it is. Like the rest of the area around Lachine Canal, Little Burgundy was hit hard by the opening of the St. Lawrence Seaway in 1956 and the closure of the canal in 1970. Numerous industries left for the suburbs, leaving the area in a state of decay. Oh, they shut the canal. Well, we better move to the suburbs and take our business there, where there also is no canal and never has been. So that really doesn't make sense. Now, if they'd moved closer to the St. Lawrence Seaway, now I get where you're coming from. But anyway, moving on. In 1966, the city of Montreal launched a large urban renewal project in Little Burgundy by demolishing countless residential and commercial buildings, replacing them with public housing developments. Yeah, that's going to solve your image of low-income housing, is to put in low-income housing. And revitalizing other parts of the neighborhood. In other words, tear down a couple of buildings and put in a park. I mean, sure, it's great. It's better than having derelict buildings, I guess, but why let the place get derelict in the first place unless it was on purpose? Ubukan says Grand Funk? Close. Grand Trunk. Grand Funk. We're an American band. Between 1968 and 1978, 1,441 units of low-income public housing were constructed in Little Burgundy, beginning with the Habitation Îlot Saint-Martin, or the St. Martin's blocks. Although Habitation Jean Mance was the first public housing project in Montreal. Housing under Quebec's Provincial Housing Authority, yada, yada. Okay, 1991 public housing was 39.3% of all housing in Little Burgundy and nearly 55% of the area's rental housing. And then, of course, you get your gentrification. But this was interesting. And this I kind of knew from when Canada Dummy first mentioned this a while back, but I had kind of forgotten a little bit until he reminded me on last week's live show in the chat about the jazz community, the African American, or in this case, African Canadian, African North American, African British North American musical community. So black community. Starting in 1887, Little Burgundy came to acquire a unique niche as the home of Montreal's working class English-speaking black community. Montreal's emergence as a railway hub in the late 19th century led to the immigration of hundreds of black workers from the United States, the Caribbean, and the Maritimes. That's East Coast of Canada. You know, you get your islands out there, Prince Edward Island and, Newfoundland and whatnot. So this area was then known as St. Cunegonde, became home to a great many African-American, Black Canadian, and Afro-Caribbean workers due to its location near Montreal's train stations. Many West Indian women from both the Francophone and Anglophone Caribbean came to the neighborhood after the domestic immigration program of 1955 was established. To combat poverty and social exclusion, the nascent Black community founded numerous social organizations. The Colored Women's Club of Montreal in 1902 that is. The Union United Congregational Church, 1907. The UNIA in 1919. The Negro Community Center in 1927. And the Elks Victory Lodge in 1941. Parents of American civil rights leader Malcolm X, you don't say, met each other in Montreal through their involvement with the UNIA. The neighborhood became famous for producing several talented jazz musicians. Oscar Peterson, yes, one of the greatest Canadian musicians of all time, of any musical genre, jazz or otherwise, I don't even care. Oscar Peterson is a national treasure and one of our greatest musicians of all time. When that guy plays piano, it sounds like two dudes are playing piano at the same time. Or he's got like 4 or 5 arms, or he's got more fingers than Frankie Fingers over here, eh? More fingers than Frankie Fingers. That's right, you heard it here first, huh?
So, Tommy, where have you been, huh? Oh, I've been watching Newest Reset. Huh? Oh, it's New West Reset. It's this thing on YouTube. He goes around, he does his boots on the ground thing. They'll tell you.
So Oscar Peterson and Oliver Jones are the two best known. Other jazz artists who resided in the community were Charlie Biddle and Daisy Sweeney. During Prohibition and the later pre-Jean Drapeau years, as an open city, Little Burgundy was home to several nightclubs featuring homegrown and international performers. One of them was Rockhead's Paradise, owned by Rufus Rockhead, after whom a street is named. Other nightclubs that presented live music include the Café Saint-Michel and the Black Bottom Club. The decline of passenger train travel in the 50s and 60s hit the community hard as hundreds of men were laid off. At the same time, black-owned properties were expropriated by the city to build new highways, of course, and many homes were torn down to clear land for a public housing project. Many black families moved away. Little Burgundy, which was once home to 90% of the city's black residents, by 1966 was now home to only 2% of all blacks in Montreal. In 1996, 21.2% of Little Burgundy residents were black. By 2016, this number further declined to 15.9%. Yeah, we can't have them in a big, successful, beautifully architected, embellished, positive, fantastic, historically significant neighborhood. Now we got run a bunch of freeways through there and knock everything down and move them into ghettos instead. The neighborhood is served by a George Vanier station on the Montreal Metro. I think it did used to have the trolley or the tram. The old streetcar used to go through there too, I think. I'm pretty sure. Anyways, link below for that. There's a bunch of notable people from there and other neighboring areas that are very similar or close by. But I thought that was really interesting. And yeah, a huge jazz scene came out of there. Now the Montreal Jazz Festival, which I think is one of the largest jazz festivals going, is on Saint Denis Street, which isn't far away. Saint Denis off St. Catherine Street. But yeah, there's a huge jazz scene in Montreal, Quebec, Canada land, believe it or not. Love our jazz up here. That's right. I said it. Ms. Grandma in the box. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Yes, rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. We lost Ozzy Osbourne, founding member, one of the greatest hard rock / heavy metal bands of all time, Black Sabbath. Liked Ozzy. Very charismatic frontman. And of course did his very successful solo thing. But then we also lost Hulk Hogan. What was it, day before yesterday? Yeah, that's right, Hulkster. That's right, brother. What you gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you, brother? Oh, it's very sad. Very sad. I mean, he was in poor health, and let's face it, Sharon probably saved his life at least 3 or 4 times. Sharon! I can't work your fucking remote on the telly! Sharon! But yeah, it is sad. God bless him. I'm not making fun of him. I love the guy. Ozzy was fantastic. Black Sabbath, great band. And in high school, I used to listen to Ozzy. While I was listening to my Stevie Ray Vaughan, I was listening to Blizzard of Oz, Diary of a Madman, and all that. Chuck Mangione. What? Did Chuck Mangione die too? He bought the farm too? Huh. Never heard that one. Corey Ash in the box says 2 of my high school besties are pro jazz musicians in Montreal. Brilliant musicians. There you go. There you go. My cousin lives in Montreal. He's got a sort of a bluesy jazz quartet where he does, small private shows or like big corporate functions, highfalutin stuff. But then he also has an electric blues band, and he and his wife front the band together. He does backup vocals and plays lead guitar, electric guitar. She does lead vocals, and she plays a damn mean saxophone. And they do a lot of the blues and jazz festivals around the city in Montreal and the outskirts and other small cities and towns during the summer. A lot of music festivals, obviously, and in this area, lots of blues and jazz festivals. So it's a good time. It's a good time. You know how it is. You know what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? All right, we're having a good time.
So what do you say we take a mid-show break? We're just past the hour mark, about an hour and a quarter here. Take a mid-show break, and then we come back, and we're going to look at one last article, and then we're going to have a look at some photographs, again, of some of these old world estate homes, these Montreal mansions, these chateaux, if you will, from the Golden Square Mile, and some buildings and private residences of note in Little Burgundy as well. But before that, as per usual, going to give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek. If you're new to the channel, which I have seen quite a few new friends, so welcome and thank you very much. If you're new to the channel, or as a reminder, every Sunday I do the live show. Every Wednesday I upload an old-timey vintage footage video, and I usually put it together with some music. I try to keep it Canadian content as much as I can. I put that up Wednesday for vintage footage. Friday, I do boots on the ground, and then Sunday, we're back here for the live show. So every Sunday, I give you a preview of Wednesday's vintage footage, and you get some sirens in the background, just to be annoying and off-putting and distracting. So there's that. Shout out to Terry Light. Anyway, so this week, no exception. What do we got here? This one is, I believe it's about just over 5 minutes long. 5.5 minutes-ish. This is footage from the B&O Railroad from 1897. And it's taken from the railroad engineer, the guy who drives the train, the choo-choo, from his point of view. So you get to do a ride-along on the old steam engine locomotive of the B&O, 1897. Just a little bit past 5.5 minutes. Again, from 1897. And this is a good one. This is a real good one. So smoke them if you got them. Put your ear goggles on. Turn it up to about, I was going to say turn up to 11, but turn her up to 12 there, bud. Enjoy. Stick around. Be right back. We'll see you on the other side of about 5.5 minutes. All right, everyone? Thanks a lot. Cheers.
I think I fucked up.
All right. And we are back. Welcome back, everyone. Frankie here. New West Reset. New West Reset Live. Episode 130 here today on this Sunday, July 27th, 2025. We're creeping up on 6:30 p.m. local time, Mountain Time. Always live here from Calgary, foothills, the Canadian Rocky Mountains here in Purdy, Alberta, southwestern Alberta, up in Canada land, don't you know? So thanks for shooting in and joining me here, winding down your weekend. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming by for a little bit of your Sunday Fun Day show, you know. If you haven't already, give a guy one of these. Thanks to everybody who's already shared and subscribed. Welcome to all of my new friends of the channel, new subscribers. Hope you're enjoying the shenanigans and the good times. If you're watching this after the live, thank you very, very much. Really appreciate you. How's everybody doing? Let's say hello to everybody in the box. See how everybody's doing. What's going on? What's happening? What's the haps, Jack? Scott Pike is here. Better late than never. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Neil WM is here and Water the Tree. Hello. Hello. Ken a Dummy. Howdy, buddy. How you doing? Kathy Broughton in the box. Ms. Grandma. Hello. Hello. Appreciate that. Yes, that's right, Wiley. Wiley Metz, Neil Young. Absolutely. Absolutely. All day with the Neil Young. Neil Young and Crazy Horse, technically. But yeah, Neil Young. Morgan says I play this for years. That's right. From the album Mirror Ball. Mirror Ball. Very good. Ken a Dummy says I worked with a guy who broke a bottle over Burton Cummings' head at a 7-Eleven. Eesh. Ouch. Oof. That's Burton Cummings. I mean, if you hit Randy Bachman over the head with a bottle, he probably wouldn't even feel it because he's got one of those big, ginormous, big, massive pumpkin heads, if you know what I'm saying.
I wet my jockeys here.
No, it's a big, giant Charlie Brown-sized head. You see what I'm saying? Curtis in the box, rock and roll. That's right. Rock and or roll. Rock and roll. Boss says the song makes me want to crush some Bud Heavies. Really? There you go. A couple of high tests, eh? Yeah, some barley sandwiches there, Bud. Have yourself a couple of beers. Couple of beers, eh, buddy? Beauty. Beauty. Absolutely. Cousin Vinny, here's Vincent in the box. Hi, all. Sorry to miss the stream. Having company over. See you next week. Oh, well, thanks for shooting in there, bud. Always great to see and hear from you there. It's, you know who that is. That's Cousin Vinny over here. Cousin Vinny. Eh?
So now you know what I'm talking about with the whole New West Reset thing.
No.
What?
No.
What I said about Frankie Fingers. That Frankie Fingers
yeah.
and New West Reset are the same.
Wait, what? Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Hippie. Appreciate you. And thanks for sharing all the links throughout the chat. Thank you very much and for keeping an eye on things. But yes, hit the thumbs up if you please. If you please. You know, every little bit helps there, bud. Every little bit helps. Hippie's fastly and furiously sharing links, how you can get a hold of a guy, email, and MeWe, BitChute. And of course, welcome to everybody on Rumble, as well as YouTube, broadcasting simultaneously on both. Toutes les deux, monsieur. Oui, oui. Ha, ha, ha. So at the top half of the show, we looked a little bit at his story, the official narrative, according to the Wikipedia, about the Golden Square Mile in Montreal and Little Burgundy in Montreal. Montreal in la belle province Québec, hein? Got one last article to share here real quick that has some lovely photos in it, which is why I bookmarked the thing. And again, links below for everything, including this one. And then I managed to go on the interwebs and grab some nice photos and did a little research and actually got the year that the structure was, what they tell us, was built. So, you know, I did my due diligence. I'm trying to do better here with doing a little bit, getting a little bit more information. Of course, I encourage you to always, as per usual, do your own research. Don't take my word for any of this. A lot of times I'm just thinking out loud, like a Canadian knucklehead, a knucklehead, if you will. So the Golden Square Mile gives us the blurb. Don't really need to hear all about the blurb again, but gives you the general area here. What's near Griffintown? Well, what do you know? And then there's Little Burgundy, and there's the Golden Square Mile. And so quinkadinkly, they're next to each other, and they share a border with Griffintown. Stanley Baggs' house. Look at this place, man. Come on. Again, this isn't a hotel or an apartment block. Just from here to this tower turret, and here is his house. This is a different house in another building, but yeah, it's just this guy's house. Built during these times, as you can see, there's the level of transportation and technology that we have. Horse and cart, horse and buggy, steam locomotive, sure. Once you get steam locomotive, you get steam shovels and steam cranes. But, you know, if this was built in the 1840s or 1850s even, you're not using cranes, you're using manual hoists and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Mrs. John Redpath's house. It was made 1899, eh? When was this one? 1900. Oh, yeah, so they had steam powered equipment back then. It wasn't super common, but they had it. Still no small feat. You know what I'm saying? They got to get all these. You can't use a steam crane and steam shovel to do all this block work and do all these curved angles. Look at the snow that you get. That's why you don't build all this stuff low down. It just fills up with snow and ice, and it's a pain in the keister. What's going on today? Sirens again. Sorry. It's a cool website because some of them have like a little slideshow. Construction of the Chateaux apartments. Yeah, okay. 1925. Possibly legit. I was going to say this looked Vanilla Sky, but no, you can see the leaves here. They would have chopped all this out. It's just overexposed a bit, I think, here. Holt Renfrew under construction. Oh, wow. I used to work for them buggers. Not in Montreal, though. Here in Calgary. It's the old Art Deco style Holt Renfrew, built in 1937, eh? You know, Holt Renfrew or a men's suit costs about, $2,000. Designer men's suit. You know, ladies' dress costs, $3,000, $4,000 or more. Want to get yourself a nice pair of leather wingtip brogues there, fellas? That's going to cost you about $500 to $800, because it's all designer stuff. So it stands to reason this would be built where all the highfalutin folks live. Sherbrook Street, looking east, the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. Built in the heart of Montreal's poshest neighborhood. It was 40 meters high, the maximum allowed by the city until the 20s. So it was the tallest building in Montreal at one time. The Ritz-Carlton Hotel. Look at these massive chateaus and mansions and estate homes all up and down the street, man. And Calgary had a street like this too. I imagine a lot of cities had a street like this. where the true old world residences once stood. This is that Mount Stephen house. This is silly. Look at this. You need all this on your house, I guess. Sure. Kathy Broughton says, holy crap, for a suit? Yeah, well, because it's an upper crust store, right? I mean, yeah, you could go into a, sort of a regular, reasonably priced store, not even a crappy discount store, but just a reasonably priced regular retail store and get yourself a decent suit for, $300-400. But, Renfrew and some of the other, it's like Saks Fifth Avenue and all them fancy places, right? Harrods in London. Those rounded windows are cool. Yeah, you better believe it. Love the arched and rounded windows. Here's the interior. Imagine just all this wood being carved in, again, ridiculously high ceilings. Exquisite. Realm Dweller over on Rumble says, go to Sears for $50. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're shitting Tiffany cufflinks every morning and peeing liquid gold, you're not going to care too much about, a couple of grand for a suit. Sir William Van Horn's house. Look at this place. Looks like there's a phony foundation or something built in front of these low windows here. Beautiful stonework and this coining along the edge. And again, all this dental molding and just dormers everywhere. Mansard roof. Exquisite. Nice, beautifully lined street. Tree-lined street. All that money and you're giving that kid that terrible bowl cut and making him wear culottes, eh? Great. A theater. Of course, you got to have the fancy theaters and opera houses. Thurston, famous musician. A magician, excuse me. It's 1970, though, so yeah, it's not exactly old-timey. Now that's old-timey. George Drummond's house. Again, it's just my house. It's fine. Why? What are you staring at? It's just my house. It's no big deal. It's absolutely fine. And they say there's no castles in Canada.
I think I can smell shite. Yes, I can definitely smell shite.
Looks like a castle to me. Just saying. So I guess this guy had this house. Started off as a mansion, and then it was it became a library. Okay. Prince of Wales Terrace. Prince of Wales Terrace was built in honor of the Prince of Wales' 1860 visit. It consisted of 9 row houses with identical facades, but they were torn down in 1971. Again, well, at least it made it a century. It looks like it was built to last a millennium, but nah, it's fine. We got to knock it down, even though it's beautiful and glorious. Come on, man. Got all these little bijou balconies and arched windows and all of this tech. Lovely. Look how much snow you get. That's why I laugh when I see these really low or protruding from the ground windows. I just laugh. And I think to myself, well, yeah, wait till January hits there, bud. December, January, February. We start getting a whole bunch of snow. And depending what part of the country, it could be that wet, heavy snow. You know what I'm saying? It's just a nightmare. So can you imagine dealing with all of that with them low windows? Now, mind you, that's been shoveled aside and piled up, but still, it's a dang nightmare. Look at this place, McGill University. It was founded by this guy, James McGill. He just found it. Powdered wig guy. Looks a bit like Fred Flintstone with one of those wigs on, doesn't he? Hey there, Barney boy. Anyway, look at this place. 1869. Because you got to have a big tower with a dome on it and some kind of device out of the top of it. Sure. Just found this big compound of buildings and just, yeah, it's university that I built. All right. It's a cute little place. Cafe Andre with its mansard roof and the little dormers in here. Even in these modestly sized buildings, just these little details, you know. There's a brutalized old worlder here too, you know. It's just stuttering for some reason. Members only brand. Yeah, there you go. A true emperor wears no clothes. Yes. Well, you know, you want to spend $5,000 on a Tom Ford suit? That's your business. If you got it, I guess. I don't know. Seems wasteful to me, too, even though I used to work in that environment. But let me tell you, I used to buy the cheapest suit I could from the place I worked at, and even, you know, we'd get it for 50% off. And even then, you know, it was, you know, you're looking at $400, $500 for a dang suit. At that point, it'd be like, you know what? I'll spend the extra $50 and I'll get a made-to-measure bespoke suit where I get to pick the fabric, the lining, all the findings and fixings inside the guts of the suit. I get to pick what kind of buttons I want, the style of pockets and pocket flaps, how many pockets I want on my jacket, how many buttons I want on my jacket, single-breasted, double-breasted, peak lapel. Do I want pick stitching on it? Do I want piping around the lapel? Surgeon's cuffs? Do I want no pleat on my trousers, one pleat? Do I want suspender buttons and a coin pocket? Get to pick and choose a little bit at least, you know what I'm saying? Who are these highfalutin top hat people? Opening of the Student Union Building in 1906 by Arthur A. Gleason at McCord Stewart Museum. Or, no, this is at the university, but the photo is from the McCord Stewart Museum, excuse me. Yeah, you got to get your top hatters in there to officially open buildings. Several theological colleges used to be associated with McGill. The Wesleyan Theological College was built in 1882 on the north side of the Milton entrance. Wesleyans were named after John Wesley, 1703 to 1791, who founded the Methodist movement. Ah, I did not know that. So there you go. That's the end of that article. That is the McCord Stewart University of Montreal website, and it's sort of a tour of the Golden Square Mile, old photos. So link once again below for that, as well as what we covered, the top half of the shoe. All right, let's get his photographs here so we can zoom in on some of these lovely details. Got these kind of organized for the most part-ish. And again, I try to poke around a little bit, at least give what they tell us is the official build date or founding date, depending on what language they use on these buildings. Some of them are from Little Burgundy, so they're, you know, churches and schools and other structures, as well as homes. And then some of them are from the Golden Square Mile, so those are mostly residential homes. Again, these chateaux, these old world chateaux. Dr. Ewan Cameron, MK Ultra. Yeah, if you want to, I'm sure many of you have done a dive or a deep dive into MK Ultra. I know I have. And Yeah, McGill University in Montreal always comes up as messing around with that whole MK Ultra thing. Initially, they say early 60s, but if you dig a little deeper, it's actually starting in the mid to late 1940s. So they tried to hide about a decade worth of shenanigans over there. Hello, Sandra. Good to see you. Hello. Welcome. Joshua Yamin in the box. Hello. What's going on here? Backdrop for a beautiful woman for sure. Love the movies they play in old world Montreal. I love Montreal. I mean, I'm kind of partial. I was born in Montreal. So I love the old neighborhoods, Ville Marie and what eventually became Montreal and the old port. It's very European feeling, very romantic feeling, for lack of a better term. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm talking about it. Let's look at it. Look at it. This is McTavish looking southbound. I believe this is the dome to the Bon Secours market in the old port. Marché Bon Secours, maybe. This is the, I think this might be a church or a cathedral here. Look at this right here, though. Very gingerbread looking, extremely spired church here with all kinds of baubles on it, and they just went silly with stacking the brick. Exquisite. Looking like a fortification for a medieval castle. And it's got the mansard style roof on it here too. But again, these conical domes on these little mini turrets. I mean, come on, man. It's coining here. It's beautiful. But again, you can see the depth of the snow, how it would cause problems for what we call mud flood windows. Yeah, that's right. Dean says you could ski down that hill. Yeah, oh, for sure. And I bet you a lot of people did, actually. Sandra says, I lived and wandered Montreal, but my daughter passed there, so not too charming anymore. Yeah, see, I can definitely understand that. Definitely understand. Sorry to hear that. That's rough. Sherbrook Street, Golden Square Mile. It's that one dude's house. And again, of course, Canada, so you got to have horse and sled. Sleigh? Sled? Look at this thing. Look at this stonework. Oh, this curved stonework. Think that's easy? You try it. And then we got to put a conical dome, but then we got to have some kind of, I don't know what, up here. And then these elaborate little dormers. Outstanding. There's the thumbnail. Duncan McIntyres' house. Look at this. Again, yeah, it's my house. It's fine. Looking a little top heavy or kind of stumpy, though. And is it to me, or does this look like it should come down substantially further? Like the point from the ground to this architectural point, and then from here to here looks out of balance. You see what I'm saying? Looks like it should be taller, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. This is Shaughnessy House, 1874. This one was built. Again, that mansard roof with all these ridiculously different shaped dormers. Let me just take a second to look at that beaut. Tell me if that makes sense. See what I mean? See how this could cause some problems. It's Adam's family house, says Kathy Broughton. Yeah, kind of, right? Or maybe even the one before that one, too. This one. This is Adam's family house, maybe. Either way, their chateaux, their estate homes, they're exquisite. Absolutely exquisite. Yep, stunning. Stunning. I agree, Hippie Shake. I agree. Joseph House, built 1865. Not quite as fancy or embellished, but it still has a lot of little detail on it. I mean, they could have just stacked brick or whatever here, but no, they decided to put this sort of squiggle or braided looking relief work. And then again, here along this edge, they've done some kind of detail. And it kind of sounded like I was joking at top half of the show, but seriously, this thing looks like it could take a direct hit from a boom boom and just, you just walk out and dust yourself off, dust your shoulders off, you know what I'm saying? And be fine. Take a note that you have window, tiny window, but then this thing is up on a hump. And then it's got a retaining wall. So it just makes me wonder. Mary Dorothy Molson's house, 1929, they say this was built. I don't know. Definitely has all the hallmarks of old world construction. I had my doubts about this date, but I checked around, and supposedly she was the daughter or the daughter-in-law or something of the beer guy. So, I mean, pretty much everybody in the family had some kind of big, massive chateau. This is the Robertson House. 1867 is when it was built. Look at this. You got your coachman here and your driver. Look at this carriage. Your lanterns here. And these two buggers got to sit backwards, but I bet you these are the guys that hop down and open the door and handle the horses when they get to their destination. Because he doesn't jump up and down. He's got to hold the reins, apply the brake. These guys, I think, would jump down and assist with the horses. I don't know. It's a whole big song and dance. It's literally a dog and pony show. Looks like an old English castle, says Hippie Shake. Yeah, Kathy Broughton's got the idea. Posers, yeah. Yeah, we claim this place. We own it because we're getting our picture taken in front of it. Thanks for sharing those links, Hippie. Kathy says a lot of Molsons around. Oh yeah. Molson and Montreal are synonymous. Synonymous. The Taylor House, built in 1850. Here's the Taylors. Just a bunch of lousy layabouts. I'm guessing either this fella here or this sourpuss sumbitch is the patriarch. You got old Nanner here. Just not having a good time whatsoever. I told you to stand still, Gladys, for pity's sake. Everybody else sat still. Nana's got the shakes, so it's forgivable. This lady had to hold this goofy pose for that, 12 to 15 seconds exposure time. Yeah, I would say so. Probably, yep. Inheritors, yeah. FAF, fake as fudge. Former residence of the late Lord Mount Stephen. Not Mountbatten, Mount Stephen. Look at this place. There's his little atrium or indoor area or something. Maybe that's a dining hall or a music room. I don't know. Some kind of addition, it looks like. Maybe. It's got a lot of the same hallmarks, but hard to say. But very fancy schmancy, pee in your pantsy. Joshua says, Fort Belvedere comes to mind when I look at some of those mansions. Just read my daily news feed and obsessed with anything mildly Gothic. Yeah, well, I mean, that Gothic style, or even what they tell us is the Gothic revival style. It's so embellished, you know, it's such extreme peaks on the towers and spires and all the little bobules, and it's got to have towers and towers and towers, and it's all about up high, and every square inch of the surface is covered in some kind of fancy little embellishment. Look at this. This is the just the living room in Mount Stephen's, Lord Mount Stephen or Sir Mount Stephen's chateau. It's actually quite tasteful. It's not overly done. Again, you can see there's no wood in the fireplace whatsoever. It's got some kind of shiny thing in there. It's not like he's poking around. There isn't even the fire poker, the little ash shovel, you know, your fireplace kit, your maintenance gear, the brush or the little shovel and whatnot. There's dustpan. There's nothing. It's not like you're stoking fires in this thing. You don't want it to get out of control. The wall and the ceiling are wood, buddy. I ain't building no fires in there. Venetian shell wall sconce. My, oh my. Yeah. Where is this? Somewhere in Europe? No, not at all. It's in Montreal. Montreal, Quebec, Canada land.
Ooh la 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 la.
There it is again, Ravens Crag, built in 1863. Now we can zoom in on this butte. Look at this. Just everything. Big pillars, arches, pediments galore. Again, we're just going to make all the pediments just different shapes too, you know, just because we don't mind doing the extra work. Come on, man. Not to mention just all this here too. There's your gate for your horse and buggy, and then there's your gate for, you know, just to walk up to the place. And again, this meanders all through this big landscape, massive compound, basically. Kathy says, wow, Brian Metz is giving the thumbs up. There's another angle. So you've got at least 1, 2, 3 levels, and then you've got this tower with this big surrounding glass observation sunroom, I'm guessing. You know, the one with all these urns and the tech on top for some reason. Plus you've got a deck here and a veranda here, and probably another veranda on this side too. And it's just to overlook everything that you've conquered. You know what I'm saying? Your expansive lands. You know, in your country estate. Just out in the country. Shit, I'd be lucky to have a log cabin out in the country. This guy's building 4-story, you know, 10,000 square foot chateaus. Here's the living room in that Ravens Crag. We can zoom in on it now a little bit because, again, this fireplace, clean as a whistle. Clean as a whistle. Look at this nonsense. Come on, man. Come on. Oh. Incredible. So here's a shot of Little Burgundy from roughly around 1920. This is just one street. Again, Little Burgundy is roughly the same size, if not a little bit bigger than the Golden Square Mile. So you're looking, the Golden Square Mile was almost literally a square mile. So, at least initially. little burgundy, maybe 1.5, almost 2 times the size at most. So a nice little pocket of some of this kind of beauty. Big, massively tall doorways, and again, these funny little turret-like things sticking out with this extra little angular work that needs to be done. Arched windows. This probably had a statue or something in it, or something, and that they've taken it out. They've taken it out. Got some brick here. It's obviously winter, early winter or early spring. So it's kind of mucky, but it's snowy and icy and slushy. But there is brick here too. See that as plain as day. Nice old bridge too in the back. Yeah, sure. Conical domes with tech galore everywhere. That's fine. It's totally fine. This is the canal, I think. Hello, Annie. Orphan Annie in the box. She says, houses today all look like cookie cutter cardboard versions of each other and will blow away with a good wind. Yeah, and they often do blow away in a good wind. They're not big, beefy, sturdy things like these, that's for sure. Look at this here too, by the way. Stonework here on this place. Again, big, massive arched entryway. What's this up here? Kind of weird thing. A little weird. You have to excuse this one. It's a nice shot, but if I zoom too much, it gets pixelated. But it gives you an idea of just the glorious neighborhood that we're looking at here with all of these old world stone structures and the brick streets. You could see the track there for the streetcar tram or the trolley. Big, huge, massive mature trees lining the street. And again, in the background, towers and conical domes and turrets. This beautiful stonework. So, of course, this neighborhood had to go. You had to gentrify it and knock down a bunch of this crap. Same thing as the Golden Square Mile. Some of it still exists, but it's been dumbed down. And they've removed a lot of the stuff, or they've been brutalized, or they, build a sidewalk terrace or outdoor eating area in front of it. They put shitty awnings on them, and the usual, right? Usual. I would encourage you, by the way, if you go onto the Goggle machine and you go to Google Maps and you just type in Little Burgundy, Montreal, it'll show you on the Goggle Maps the neighborhood, and it'll have a little dotted red outline around the thing. Then you can just drop the man down, and I would encourage you just to walk up and down the streets and do a Goggle map drop peekaboo around the place. See, these have been kind of left to get all kind of project-y. You can still see mansard roofs and dormers. Nice little bijou balconies every once in a while. You still have some tech that they haven't taken down yet. This is in 1970, I think, this photo. Or 1960 something anyway. Look at this beauty. Now, Dépanneur, that's a bodega. That's a corner store, convenience store. Got this crazy slope. So they've had to pour this and then pour the sidewalk. And this still isn't level. You can see the angle here. But there's stone here. But then this looks like legit stone down here because you can see it's starting to get kind of rough and erode a little bit. So you can see the joinery is starting to be spaced out. It's a little bit tighter here. Probably because the snow isn't piled up against it back here. It's a little bit higher off the sidewalk. And of course, you got to have some kind of access for below, so they put big vents in there. So you got window, window, what probably was window, 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 window. This they may have just blocked in. But you know, all these beautiful arches with the keystones. And it's not just a stone, it's got a carved relief on it. And again, all these capitals, and it's just lovely. Absolutely lovely. But yeah, it's just a corner store and a cell phone place. Like, take off. Look at this place here. What's going on with this? Oops, sorry, Morgan. There he is. Morgan, those homes are insane. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They develop. Develop. Yeah, oh, we're doing a redevelopment. Oh, you're developing it, eh? Look at this mansard roof. Beautiful. All this coining around the windows and the corners of the buildings. This is quite fancy, right? Like, come on, man. But again, now picture in some of those old other photos we saw, all the snow and ice. Now imagine carrying your groceries from here up these metal stairs, because you got to get into, you live here and probably here, and then somebody lives down under here, which is ridiculous. You can see how it slopes downward here. So I think these have been mud flooded a bit. Again, just my opinion. Look at this. At first, I thought these were arched openings, but they're big, giant portals, and then a big, huge, tall doorway with an arch on it. Roughly hewn stone. Sorry about the pixelation. Again, you have a residence down, and you got to go up to get in. But then these dormers have these crazy little, almost like, I don't know how to even say. It's like a pointed little tower on it. And then even these little ones, you know. Exquisite. Again, sorry for the quality of the photo, but it's neighbor here too, you know. Come on, man. Realm Dweller says, packing crap up the stairs is the butler's problem. Yeah, that's kind of the thing, isn't it, Brian? Brian Metz in the box says the cost alone to source the materials would be staggering. Look at this. Are you kidding me? Little Burgundy, Montreal, Quebec. Come on, man. Look at this. You can tell it's been there a while. It's all rusted to shit. So it's made of metal. It's made of metal. This looks like it's wood. I wouldn't be surprised if this is turned wood. This is probably wood. This is probably metal, though. And this definitely looks metal. I mean, this, call me crazy, but that looks like it's rusting, no? This one's in far better shape, but it looks like metal, wood, metal. And unfortunately, they've painted the brick here, but this place, it's got the graffiti artists have done their thing. I think this is a fake foundation. It's sticking out a little bit, and there's obviously lower suites. This one on the corner is getting a rough deal compared to its neighbors. But look at this. Made to look like a crown. Look at this. Is all rusted. So this is metal flashing under this window. Again, you get the dental molding here. Just exquisite. This is probably a recessed doorway. This looks like this is us. We built this part. Somebody built an enclosed-in mudroom entrance. Yeah, that's the thing, right, Kathy? They leave the graffiti here. It looks like it's been painted numerous times, and then they just come back and tag it again. Thanks. Does that say beer? That's Canadian graffiti right there. B-E-E-R. Beer. Oh, for sure, buddy. Wiley says, Doll City's completed. Insert dollies and currency. Yeah, it does look like a row of doll houses almost, eh? This is the Centenary Methodist Church. In that same neighborhood. Nice postcard. Look at this stonework. Come on, man. Again, little dormers with their own little roof, and their own little piece of techie tack on it, not to mention this castle-like structure. This is the West End Methodist Church. Supposedly built in 1891. It looks way older than that to me. If you told me 1691, I might nod in agreement. This ancient stone. Look at this somatic window. Gorgeous. Look at the size of it compared to all these bozos lined up. Photos taken during the Great Depression, of course. They're lining up for whatever. Canadian winter. This eventually became a African American or Black Canadian community center. Yeah, I would say so. That would be my contention as well, Kathy. Kathy Broughton says, yeah, they found that church. Wiley says, they sure did, Kathy. Yeah. Church of Saint Cunegond, excuse me, Cunegond. Look at this. Are you kidding me? Catholic Church. Catholics don't mess around, man. Dome, more domes, portals, big, huge stonework. Again, a cymatic window. Trees are covering it, but you get the idea. Big, massive pillars. Huge entranceway. It looks like they put in some dumbass little small wooden doors. But it is a big, grand entrance. You can see here from this pediment above this door, you know, you got your 12 or 15 foot doorways. Huge. Built in 1905, apparently. It kind of does have a little bit of a Spanish feel to it in some ways, maybe. Yeah, I see what you're getting at. Shot of it from another angle. Yeah, these doors look out of place. They look like they should at least go up to here. Even then, it still might be kind of stumpy. Look at this house. It's another one of those little crowned homes. This photo's a modern photo. It's just taken in black and white because it's all artsy-fartsy. Just gives you another angle of these beautiful details on these. Look at even inside of here, they've got little rosettes. I'm assuming this is carved wood. So let's just carve in some little roses in between each one of these. And then they've got the leaded glass in here. There's a transom window. And then French doors here. And then this beautiful little crown detail with the tech. Come on, man. What a little beauty. What a little beauty. Very low window. So we remember all that snow that we saw. That thing would be piled. The snow would be up to here. Even if you didn't intentionally throw it over this little fence and pile it up in the grass, which really you should do to, you know, when it melts, it waters your lawn. But even if you didn't intentionally throw it up against it, I mean, that snow's going to half bury this window. You know, and you got window, stumpy little window. And they've had to run all the electric and the gas and everything from the outside. It's all retrofitted. But what a little beauty. I would be proud to call this my house. Somebody said, "Hey, Frankie, you live there?" "Yep, this is my place. You want to come in, listen to some music, have a beer?" This is the George Vanier building. You know, you got to have a pyramid here, and then you got to have a dome here with some kind of regalia nonsense on top. Big arches, and again, really low buggers, and then a big fancy entranceway. This thing is exquisite. Whew, absolutely exquisite. See what I'm saying? Just right in the middle of this little neighborhood, they just decided here in Canada to build it like this for some reason.
That doesn't make sense.
I think that is the last one. Yep, the last one in the file of Little Burgundy and the Golden Square Mile in Montreal. And again, I encourage you, you could go on the Goggle machine, go to the maps, open that up, and just in the top search, we just type in Little Burgundy Montreal or Golden Square Mile Montreal, drop the little man down, and just heel toe it around. You will be flabbergasted and gobsmacked. His grandma says that it's got a Templar cross. Ah, I didn't even notice that. But yes, that on that flag. Might have something to do with the Templars, the Masons, maybe. Yeah. But he's pulling all kinds of faces in the box, in the chat with these houses. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I hear you. So there you go. What'd you think of that? And again, links below for what we covered as well at the top half of the show. The Wikipedia with the quick little historical breakdown and the official story, the official narrative of the Golden Square Mile and Little Burgundy. And that other website from McCord Stewart Museum. I think it's available in French and English. I think when you click on that website, you can go to the top and choose between French and English. So I was familiar with the Golden Square Mile, and I had heard of Little Burgundy just because of my musical hobby and my musical tastes. But I didn't really look too deeply into Little Burgundy because I knew that the name was kind of sort of a little bit more of a current name or was kind of really kicked off as an official name, you know, in modern times. Didn't really realize the name went back to the 1800s. And I didn't realize that many of the homes and buildings, well, many of the homes in Little Burgundy were estate homes. Very similar to the Golden Square Mile, maybe just scaled down a little bit. But then all the other exquisite old world structures that were in and around Little Burgundy, you know, the churches and the schools and whatnot. Holy moly. So thank you very much for Can a Dummy for suggesting the topic for today's show. What'd you think of that? Stephanie's here, Babylon Fox in the box. Guess we'll go back and watch the recording, the re-up. Well, thanks. I appreciate you coming by here anyways. Crap, I missed it again. Well, you know, you got to hit the bell for the notifications that don't work. That's the key, you see. That's the trick. That's where you get it working 60% of the time. It works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Anyway, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. So I think I'm getting ready to wind this thing down here very shortly. Do I have a couple of things to share? I think I do have a couple of things. To share here before we kick up dust and heel toe it out of here. Let's see what I got here. Yes. Here we go. This is one Kathy Kathy shared with me here. I think this was maybe earlier today. This may have been yesterday. But anyways, this is pretty funny. This lady's really gets on a good roll.
That if you swallow the watermelon seed, that a watermelon will then grow in your stomach, and you're probably not going to understand anything else in this video. But if you were, and you do, and you did, you'll get this. So it's Gen X. Come on. We were told random shit, like you can't go outside with your head wet because you go get the pneumonias, okay? You can't take a bath when it's lightning, and I know there's science behind that, don't come for me. But different things like that, okay?
Ms. Grandma on the box says, Frankie, where do you think the oldest part of Canada is? I'm thinking possibly Montreal. I'm thinking somewhere in and around Quebec City, Montreal, St. John's, that whole sort of far east part of Canada, in and around where the Gulf of the St. Lawrence kind of comes into the St. Lawrence Seaway, right where it transitions and into the Gulf of the St. Lawrence and then out into the Atlantic. So, you know, you have Newfoundland and Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and, you know, sort of the north tip of New Brunswick, and then all down the St. Lawrence. Yeah, I'd say. So Quebec City and Montreal and all that. But, I mean, we have very little to go off of, right? Very little to go off of. So, yeah, if you swallow a seed or a peach pit, the tree's going to grow out of your stomach. That's definitely not good. And
Can't go outside with your head wet because you.
Oh yeah, don't go outside with your hair wet because you'll catch the pneumonias.
You'll get the pneumonias, okay? You can't take a bath when it's lightning, and I know there's science behind that, don't come for me. But different things like that, okay? That you were told as a child that stuck into your brain, and you probably used in today's world. Can't go swimming until like 30 minutes after you eat something because you go get a cramp and possibly drown.
Oh yeah, that was a big one for me. We had to wait, except for with us, it wasn't half an hour or 30 minutes or whatever. No, it was an hour. Yeah, you've gone camping, right? And there's a lake nearby, or if you're lucky, you get a site right on the campsite, right on the lake. Whether it's a man-made lake or a natural lake, doesn't matter. You eat lunch, or you eat dinner or supper even, or whatever you want to call it, right? Lunch or supper or dinner. Maybe go for a swim. No, you got to wait an hour. You could get a cramp, and then you'll just sink right to the bottom. You'll drown like a rat. Yeah. Running with scissors, says Realm Dweller. Exactly. Yeah, literally all those things. Gen X. Yeah, you bet.
Morbid. Our parents really did just used to cut the mold off of that block of cheese and say, see, it's still good. That's why our immune system is so tough.
My grandma used to keep the block of cheddar cheese. This was in the 70s. You know, the hard cheddar cheese that you keep it in the fridge. Well, no, she used to just keep it on the counter wrapped in wax paper. She'd cut off like it would develop it would get like dry and kind of darker orangey cheddar color. So she would just shave that off and discard that, and then just cut right into that cheddar cheese wrapped in wax paper sitting on a bloody counter. Put that in the icebox or in the fridge, Grandma.
That's fine.
And we really thought by 2024 that we would have flying cars, but no. Instead, they have to put "do not eat this wrapper" on any of your sandwiches you get from a fast food establishment. It's common sense. It's not common. I don't know. Do as I say, not as I do. The only time we ever drank water as children is after recess when you stood in line to get to that water fountain. I mean, you had about 10 seconds to guzzle as much water as you possibly could, like a damn camel, because it was somebody else's turn. Get you a little sip and move on, and you were on the verge of dehydration. And they really expected us to climb.
There's always some kid would put his mouth on it, but you had to drink it anyway, too, right? The only other time as a kid that you would drink water is out of the garden hose, the green garden hose, if you were playing outside, because you were too lazy to run in the house and fetch yourself a glass of water. So you would just drink from the garden hose. I know I used to.
A 30-foot rope in the air with nothing but that 2-inch padding below us that was supposed to save our life.
Yeah, gym class back in the day. Climb this rope. I'm going to get rope burn in my inner thighs, and if I fall, you're putting a piece of foam that thick under me, covered in velour, or not velour, a vinyl, to break my fall on the hard wooden gym floor. Yeah, that'll work.
We slid down metal slides outside on the playground that felt like bacon pans fresh out of the oven. Galled your damn legs up. But we would fight in line to do it. And these kids today don't even know about bubblegum in a dish.
I got to tell you, I don't know what the Sam Steele she's talking about when she says bubblegum in a dish. I don't know what that is, so I'm almost afraid to ask. I'm kind of scared. I'm afeared. I'm frightened. I'm very, very apprehensive and skittish about the whole bubblegum thing. Oh, yeah, the pegboard up the gym wall. Or the monkey bars that went up the side of the gym wall, but they weren't like the playground monkey bars that were made of steel, metal piping. No, these were like wooden dowels, thick wooden dowels.
And it shows. I bet some of y'all didn't know that Ron Jeremy was in the movie Ghostbusters. So just let that go ahead and ruin your childhood. I think the younger generations today will never understand that places like Domino's used to take your order by phone, write it down on a piece of paper, and then use a map, a real map, to find your house and deliver it like some mystical land pirate. And last but not least, Prime Day should be about Optimus Prime. I said what I said.
Like some kind of mystical land pirate to deliver your pizza. That's pretty good. That lady's funny. That lady is funny. Does it mean spit your gum out when you come into the house into the dish? I don't know. I don't know. Kathy says, I don't know what bubblegum in a dish is either. Okay. So I'm not the only one. It's a stupid song, says Babylon Fox. Ah, okay. Yeah, I never heard of bubblegum in a dish. That's a new one on me. That's the other thing too. Like you swallow a watermelon seed, and a watermelon will grow in your stomach. Or if you swallow your bubble gum, it takes 7 years for it to digest. So don't do that. 7 years. But then, you go to school and you find out that your stomach's got stuff like hydrochloric acid in it. Yeah, it's not much stops hydrochloric acid. It's right there in the name. Acid. It's one of those clapping your hands kind of games. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Makes sense. Makes sense to me. All right, so there you go. I think that is going to seal the deal here today for Frankie. New West Reset and New West Reset Live, episode 130. We're looking at Montreal mansions, chateaux of the old world. The Golden Square Mile and Little Burgundy in old-timey Montreal. So thanks again. Thank you very much for joining me. So we could check out beautiful, fancy, old-timey Montreal.
Ooh la 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 la.
And thanks again to Canna Dummy for suggesting today's topic. And again, as a reminder, links below for everything, as well as how you can get a hold of a fella and all that good stuff. Thank you to everybody who's watching us after the live. Appreciate you as well. Stuff that's coming up on the channel here. Getting real close. Getting close. Reset 1700. Coming up. Going to start getting some official trailers going here quickly, as well as maybe some behind the scenes images and so on. Going to try and head out for a few more road trips here this summer. Summers are short as they are around here, so you got to get out there, get her going, get her done, quick, fast, and in a hurry. So we're going to try to do some more of that this summer. Still trying to lock in a time with my work buddy, Jim, who's high up in Calgary Freemasonry. Well, Alberta Freemasonry, but Calgary most especially. So we can do a little walking tour, and he could show me, yeah, we built that. Oh, yeah, we built that over there too. But, oh, yeah, all in the same time. Sure, we were just knocking them up. Thought that would be interesting. Not to make fun of him, per se, because, you know, he's just a regular dude, and he's a nice enough guy. But, you know, all the BS that they're fed, that they in turn feed us as truth. It's just one more cog in the wheel of the falsifying of the true narrative, the true history, of course. So yeah, still trying to get together with old Jim for that. I know I've been saying that since last summer. But he tends to work early. He tends to come in at 6. He's a shipper receiver. Sometimes he comes in at 5. So often he's leaving when I'm just on my lunch break. So we're going to try to do that. And of course, every Friday, boots on the ground here in Calgary. Heel tone it around, looking for history, buried history of the old world. So we'll see you Wednesday for your vintage footage. Friday, boots on the ground, and we'll see you here next Sunday for the next live show. So thanks again, everyone. Take care out there, and until the next one, have a good one. All right? Cheers, everyone.
It's a mystery! It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma!